First of all, I want to say it's good to be here. Really fired up about this year. Really fired up about working for Coach Hud, whom I've had a relationship with for since he was a player in college. So I'm fired up about that, and I'm fired up about our defense. So you know, we lost some really good players last year. Some guys up front, and I listened to Jay, and like he said, it starts up front. So, you know, it's hard to replace really good players, but you know, you got to look at players just like coaches. It's a new beginning, and what we're going to try and do is focus on the task at hand. And right now, the task at hand is trying to see what our kids can do. And that's my #1 objective, is to try and look at our players and see what we can do. We've got some good pieces, I think. You know, Dominic Tovell, and when I just think about him, and I think about Simeon Thomas, and you know, I'm a secondary coach. That's my first order of business, and you know, I like certain things. I'd like to be able to play man coverage. That's what I like. Everybody that knows me knows that. But if we don't have the pieces to play man coverage, we won't do that. And when I say the pieces, I'm not just talking about the back end part. I'm talking about the entire group of players. So what I've got to do as a defensive coordinator is I've got to look at our players, because what we're going to do is going to be player friendly. When I say player friendly, one of my teachers, a person that I really look up to in this business, is a guy by the name of Willie Shaw. And Willie's a secondary coach just like I am. His son is the head coach at Stanford. And he told me one of the worst things you can do as a coach is put your playbook on the field and leave your players on the sideline. And that's a powerful statement to me. So, like I said, the first order of business for me is to make sure that we evaluate our players early and see what they can do. Get our best players playing in the best scheme that fits them, that will feature our best players. And like I say, we've got some defensive linemen that have played some. I don't know a lot about all of them, but just guys that have impressed me. A little Dunbar. I say little Carl Dunbar's son. He's a rugged, hard-nosed. You know, he's really dependable. Prater, really dependable guys. Guys that I feel like you got to build a great foundation, and I think it starts with them. Winston has impressed me. Winston has impressed me. And again, this is what I've seen him do since I've been here. Sherrod Johnson. And I'm talking about in spring ball, summer workouts, just taking care of business. You know, I'm not a cheerleader. I'm not going to train our defense where I'm the cheerleader. Our cheerleaders are going to be the cheerleaders on the sideline and our players. Everything we're going to do is all about our players. And, you know, I was blessed enough to get this job and was able to get some guys to come and work with me that had familiar background similar to me. For example, our co-defensive coordinator, Charlie Harbison. He knows me. He will be, how we do business is very important to me. And I'll call the game from the press box. I've been in the press box a lot during my career. I've been on the sideline. But the last 2 years, I was in the press box with the defensive coordinator. So every call he made, I was right there with him. But I always called the game myself. I always called the game. I've been a defensive coordinator in high school, and I was a defensive coordinator at Delta State. So once you have that about you, you always have it. So, and I coach the corners, so I know more about what the cornerbacks can do, because I think the cornerbacks kind of have some influence over what kind of defense you play. because it's all about what they can do. So that was big for me to be able to get Charlie Harbison here. So I got him on the sideline managing the operations, making the adjustments with the players during the game. And we have practiced that same procedure during practice, whereas I stand back behind the secondary, I call it, we sub personnel. This day and time, one of the hardest jobs in any business is a defensive coordinator in college, because college football is all about filling up the stands. And people, when they come to the game, they want to see the ball, and they want to see points scored. So right now, offenses can run block and throw the ball. So they can block the run game, have offensive linemen down the field, and they can still throw the ball. And then the only time we can sub is when the offense subs. So we have to adjust to fast play and tempo. Well, I've coached with tempo coaches. The last coach I worked for before Coach Hud was a tempo coach. Before I worked for him, I worked for the guy at Mississippi State. They use tempo. Before I worked for him, I worked for Dennis Franchione, who's the head coach at Southwest Tech. So I've been around a lot of coaches, offensive coaches, that have this demeanor, and we have some experienced coaches on our staff that has a lot of knowledge in dealing with tempo. So two of the things that I will have to address that's very important to me. The first thing is I want to get our guys doing the right thing. And when I say doing the right thing, doing what they do. And then number two is you got to always have a plan for offenses that play fast, no huddle tempo. And you got to have a way to do that so your players don't panic, and you can have, because your players, they take on the personality of their leader. And that's why you have to teach them how to play with poise. Now, we're going to be a different type defense than we were last year. You know, our whole attitude changes, because last year's defense, zone was their first option. This year's defense, man, will be our first option if our players are able to do that. So that's kind of who I am, where I am, and where we're going with the defense.
Did you get enough of an idea of work here in the spring to make that decision? Or will it take a couple of weeks this month, or might that go a few games in before you really know what you have and what you can do?
Well, I really think I'll know after we play 2 or 3 games, because who we play from week to week kind of dictates what you need to be and what you can be. And but I was able to assess our players to a certain degree. But we have some new pieces that we have to add to the puzzle, Brazil and Savion Brown. And I have to look and observe what they can do. I don't really know where they are, but I have to really make sure that I keep our best players on the field. And it doesn't make sense to me to take a guy that's really good at rushing the quarterback and have him playing pass defense. And it doesn't make sense to me have a guy that's playing pass defense that ought to be rushing. And that's almost the same deal, but what I'm saying is, if one of my linebackers needs to be rushing, I want him rushing. I don't want him out here covering a receiver. So the first thing we have to do is identify what our guys can do, and then come up with the best way for them to do that without changing our scheme, just tweaking our scheme. So the first thing you do is you identify your best players, and then you try and fit them in a scheme that fits them. So I have a good idea of some of my really good players. You know, I really like Fu. I really like Dorzell. I really like Tovell. I really love our linebackers. I like Posey. I like Ota Peters, Alexander, Lightfoot. I really love those guys. So I can't just play all linebackers. You know, I love Simeon Thomas. The last time I've never had a corner big as Simeon. The last time I had a big corner like that, he won the Thorpe. John Banks, he starts for Tampa Bay right now. So Tracy Walker, I really love Tracy Walker. Travis Crawford, T.J. Worthy. See, I've got a combination of players. This defense is going to be about our players. It's not going to be about our coaches. Our coaches, you know, we don't cross the white chalk. You know, we don't. Yeah, so it's going to be, I found out some things about our players, but I'm still in an evaluation stage. And we'll really know who we're going to be after we get into the season. I wish I could say I know, but I don't know just yet. But we're going to do what our players can do.
Is that difficult for you that you don't necessarily have pieces where you want to wear, that it's going to be an evaluation period and you only have 4 weeks until, you know, game time for you?
It's not difficult for me. Really, that's the part I love. You know, right now, I get a chance to go to the grocery store. I get a chance to get the groceries, and I get a chance to fix it like I want it and serve it like I want it. I've always had to worry about what you were going to serve and then hope it tastes good. And, you know, when you coach the secondary, you coach the corners, or you coach the whole back end, you really don't like that. You know, you really, you know, I coached for a guy by the name of Joe Lee Dunn. We had the #1 defense in the country. We had the #1 defense in the country. We didn't have a playbook. And he had a playbook in his mind, but we didn't really have one. But we had the #1 defense in the country. And we shaped our defense to play who we were playing. But he put me in a box in certain areas. And what I learned by being in that box, we were really good at what we did. We were really good at what we did. Now, if you could do the things that we couldn't stop, you could get us. But we were really good at what we did, and we could study you, and we could beat you more than you beat us. And that's my vision. I've coached the #1 defense in the country in every category, so I know what that looks like. And for me, my experience, and I'm not being arrogant, but I can recognize what a player can and can't do. And the staff that I have around me, Mike Lucas, Charlie Harbison, LaVon Harbin, they can do it as well. They know who I am. They know what I like. So the difficulty, it's not that difficult. It just takes time. But I'm going to listen to my gut.
I know for you, you kind of waited for this opportunity to be a Division I coordinator. I'm sure we're going to be crying for details of scheme that's going to get an inside look, which isn't going to happen. Is that maybe the most difficult thing for you to not kind of gush about, you know, what you kind of want to do? This is such a great opportunity for you.
Well, I told you what I want to do. I want to play man. I really want to play man. But like I say, I got sense enough to know that the DBs are not the only element on defense that determines whether we can play man or not. You know, you've got to have all the pieces to play man, because my #1 deal is we're going to stop the run. We're going to, if we have to put all 11 on the line of scrimmage, we're going to stop the run. I don't have the patience or the time to allow people to run the football. And you can't let an offense be two-dimensional. We're not going to do that. And my answer is, you know, it's kind of like the people that went west when they were trying to get rich. When it ran out, they kept moving. And I'm that way. When it's not working, I'm leaving that. We're going someplace else. And to me, if you got a compliment, you only need two things. One that works and something to complement it. And that's kind of the avenue of approach that I am. So we're going to have 11 of them out there, and we're going to either be in a 3-man line, a 4-man line, or a 5-man line at some point in time. And at some point in time, you're going to probably see us in all of them. But we're not going to be real complicated. We're going to be fast. We're going to have our fastest guys on the field. We're going to be simple. Our defense is going to be smart, and it's going to be physical. I can assure you of that. So those 4 things, those 4 elements it's going to have in it. Here's what I told him. He's really, really fast. If speed tackles, it plays for me. He's really, really fast, and if it tackles, I'm a very objective person. If that speed goes to the ball and gets the guy with the ball on the ground, I'm going to find a place for him to play, because he's one of the fastest kids in the country. So he seems to be really interested in helping the team from what I gather, and he's got talent. And so I just got to see. He hadn't played a lot of football, and that's a question that I got on my board with a question mark on there. Got to be answered as fast as possible. And Otha, you know, like I said, I'm honest with the kids. And one thing about coaches, we have to be honest with the players. And I've told the guys, body language big to me. I'm a body language guy. Body language don't lie. So if I don't like the way your body language look, I tell you. And if it's something about your demeanor, your behavior that I don't like, I let them know. And it's good for them to change it, because it's just distracting to me. I don't know if that makes sense. So Otha, his everyday demeanor shows me that he's ready to get on the field and play some ball. And I'm ready for him to do it. And he's gotten better in his tackling. You know, little things that I say to him, I watch him to see if they're paying attention. And he seems to have some hunger about him, because I like hunger.
Those two guys you just mentioned, Otha and Brazil, is it a case of, are you kind of like starting over with them, or the lessons that they learn in another school, is it more of you're like building off of that? Can you use some of the lessons that they learned before they got here?
Well, for example, let me tell you something. If you go to an SEC school right out of college, right out of high school, and you lose that opportunity, you never get that back. Because the next move from the SEC, if you play good, is the NFL. You don't have a in-between stop, okay? Well, they're getting a second chance. So I use that, but I don't stay there. I try and be in the circle of influence more than I am that circle of concern. I try and let them know, look, hey man, it's a new day. It's not about yesterday. It's about taking advantage of the opportunity you have right now. And let's do the best we can with it. But let's not fool ourselves. You know, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to know, I have another chance. I really have to take advantage of this opportunity, and I don't need to tarry with it or be careless. I need to take advantage of an opportunity. So I use past experiences, but I don't beat them over the head with it.
How big of an impact in
Well, if Dorzell continues to get better in all of the little things, he can be a great player. But you know, the more he becomes disciplined off the field, and I'm talking about little bitty things that don't take talent. Coach Hud does a speech on things that don't take talent. If he will keep getting better as he has, and he's really made a lot of improvement in his way, his demeanor, his way of life, he can be an impact player because he can rush the passer. He can rush the passer. And anytime a guy can rush the passer that has a natural gift, that's special. So I think he is a natural first step. And if he continues to get better, he's got a really good coach working with him. You know, we're really blessed to have Coach Harbison, and that's his position coach. And he really gets those guys and teaches them how to be good people, good men, you know. And I think that's where, when you can get them to be really good, focused, zeroed in guys, talent takes over. It's not our job as coaches to teach them talent. We can't teach them talent. We just simply improve them in how to be good workers, good old blue collar workers, And if he'll do that, he'll be a special player in this defense because he's got talent, in my opinion.
Coach, what's been your first impression of the two sophomore safeties?
Love them. Love them. I think they got great futures. I'm looking forward to working with them. And I just, as their attitude stays good and work ethic, I just see them getting better. You know, I got a plan for them to really help us this year. I really like them. They really two good young players, and they're eager and they love ball.